Exactly. It's actually a pretty good game. Anyway, here we guys. There's going to be this compression. There's like scenes edited out of, and people talking about. Anyway, we are here to talk about. What are we talking about first?
We don't. Can you get addicted to board games?
Can you get addicted to board games?
Yes.
That's
the introduce yourself though.
Yes, thank you. I am Chris from Deus Ex Machina, and I am with
Dave from Rampant Wolf Games.
Exactly. And we are doing a roundtable discussion about various things. The primary one, apparently, on top of everything else we just talked about, was can you get addicted to board games? And I really am going to fight the urge not to be like the Saturday Night Live caricature of somebody in a debate. Mm-hmm. Like, your opinion is invalidated. Or just be like, what is it, Dana Carvey when he was imitating that one guy? Wrong!
Or better, you just aliens.
Oh yeah, then the aliens one.
Yeah,
you could do that. But of course, I'm old, so I think of wrong. And then the correct answer is yes, it is. Can you get? So I'll let you go first.
So can you get addicted to board games? You know what? I think yes, but I think no, and I'll give you the yes and the no. Here's the reason why.
It depends on decisive.
It depends on how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from, can you get addicted in the sense that you just have to play board games all the time? No. Can you get addicted in the way that you become a completionist and you must buy that board game and all its expansions, and hey, that person's got that game, and I know I got to get that game, and it's on a CMON, so I got to pledge it on Kickstarter, and I need to get the highest level and all the Yes, I think you can get addicted that way, and that is just becoming a completionist. And I will say I'm guilty of that sometimes. I will buy board games, and then as I look tonight, there's a whole bunch that I have not played, but I for some reason had to have them. And it's more of a collectionist, completionist syndrome, I think. What do you think?
I don't think I have had completionist syndrome. Yes. My fiance is another matter entirely. Watch the complete Carcassonne review I did for Dice Tower to explore that one. I may actually do a complete Castle Panic as well, just because we have. Although we don't have enough variations, so people were like, "Well, you didn't talk about Munchkin Panic or Dead of Winter Panic." I went, "No, but we have 2 Castle Panics and 6 expansions for Castle Panic." So that is something that I could do that
There's
as a
Dead of Winter Panic.
Yeah.
Oh damn!
I also think there's also a Warhammer Panic coming out. Anyway, so I don't get addicted to completionists because when I look at the games that I know have expansions, I've gotten expansions. I don't think if a game has 1 expansion, I don't think that's a completionist. So I have Amber Mines, I have the factions for Alien Frontiers, but I don't have. And I do have games that have I have all the expansions, but I don't believe it's related to I want to be a completionist. Mm-hmm. Because if these games came out with stuff later on, I'd be like, oh, whatever. Yeah. Like if somebody came down the road and say, hey, these are these 3 expansions of Alien Frontiers. I think actually Alien Frontiers just had a relaunch Kickstarter.
They did, yes.
And they were offering new things. I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I think I actually picked that one up.
It's a good game. You don't own Alien Frontiers, do you?
Yeah, I do. It's right there.
And you're getting it again?
No, I only got the expansion portions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
see, for me, I think if you have factions in the core set, I think they're good.
Yeah. See, and here's the thing that I have found, and the reason why I think it does trigger completionist syndrome with board games.
At least, yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, but here's why though. It's the nature of board games in the sense that it's not like Monopoly when we were kids, right? So you have a game that goes onto Kickstarter. It's like, okay, so I'll wait till that comes out to retail. Oh, it's not going to go to retail. Oh.
So that taps on what I was going to bring up. So when it comes to the completionist by saying, I backed Gia because I wanted the expansion. The expansion is really hard to get a hold of. I literally have not played the game because I'm waiting for the expansion. That's the first thing.
Yep.
But when it comes to my addiction, can be addicted to board games. You cannot be addicted in the same way that people are addicted to, say, Dota or World of Warhammer. Okay, I don't think you can't get addicted that way. You have to play this game all the time.
Yes.
I think it's entirely possible with certain games. Maybe Gloomhaven. People may be addicted to Gloomhaven. I think it's entirely possible because it's a game with that much scope. But most of the games in their collection are too small to get addicted to. Mm-hmm. You absolutely can be addicted to FOMO.
What's FOMO?
Fear of missing out.
Yes.
That is something, I know that because that hit me earlier this year.
Yeah.
I started backing Kickstarter. I backed Nemesis. That was the first game I backed outside of, like, I get backed a couple, like once every 4 or 5 months, I'd back a game, right? I backed Subterra. I backed Bears vs. Babies and Exploding Kittens and nothing here and there. And I started kicking myself because I missed out in the first Gloomhaven one. I missed out Seventh Continent. Yeah. And I got really upset that. So when Nemesis came out, I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, I got to get that. And then like a month later, another game, I was like, oh, I got to get that. Oh, I got to get that. Oh, I got to get that.
Yeah.
And that FOMO, that fear of missing out, is now being milked. It's used. There's two marketing ploys which I'm starting to get annoyed with, because they work. One, Tom talked about just a few days ago in their crowdfunding roundup. His was reviewed and funding goal made in 5 minutes, or funded in 1 hour. He's like, nobody cares. Like, Tom, you're not a market analyst. That is a huge selling market.
Yes.
Right? One of the reasons why they'll say, that's why if a film breaks 100 million opening weekend, they talk about that. They say number one film in America. Yeah. That is absolutely part of a marketing campaign. If you can find your campaign in a super fast time, you plaster that everywhere. You may have a problem with it, but it brings the numbers. That's related to the whole thing. Get this campaign, exclusivity. We're not sending it to retailers. Get these exclusive things you won't find anywhere else. When it came to Machina Arcana, when I realized I didn't really care to have the second level of the tier, I was going with the base retail tier, and then I realized, well, why am I backing this? I'll just wait for it to come out. But that fear of missing out, I think a lot of people backed a lot of Kickstarter games because they know that's not going to come out. You're only going to get it through Kickstarter. I think, for example, a good example are some of these high heavy miniature games, like the Batman. We have some Simon games get hit.
Well, Simon is guilty of it, and I've talked about this with Chaz Marla from Paradise.
Right.
That Simon is...
Pair of Dice Paradise.
You
said it so fast, I thought you said Paradise. And I was like, I think that's exactly what he wants you to say.
I know. It is the exclusives. And he has said it too. We hate exclusives because... you can only get it during Kickstarter. You can't get it later during retail because that was the only time you could get it. Yeah. And sometimes, especially with Simon games, those exclusives will radically alter the gameplay. Because it'll be something like this guy will be some like end level boss. You're just like, oh, well, that just adds more onto the story. But because I didn't back it during Kickstarter, I don't get the rest of the story.
Yeah, the ones that I've been working on with the project that you know about that I won't talk about. The Kickstarter goals for us have been stuff like, this is, like I said, when it comes to the analog portion, when there's some elements that'll be represented digitally, and our exclusives are, now you get to do it as an analog, but the retail version is not going to have the analog. Doesn't change the game at all. It's just simply collector edition stuff. This is like, but that's part of milking that marketing campaign. That's the thing with the other 2 or 3 campaigns, and I think I've stepped away from Kickstarter. Well, because of finances. Finances was the big one, because I realized I'd spent $3,000 or $4,000 this year back in campaigns, and I was like, boy, was this not a good idea.
Yeah.
Because they increment the costs. Like, there's like, oh, it's only $100, and then it's like, oh, I want to get that, and I get this, and then the post campaign, oh, I want to get this, and this. Mm-hmm. I was going through Nemesis, right? Because I don't want to see how much money I really spent on Nemesis because I had the full kit, and then I was going through their pledge manager, and the pledge manager was just like, oh, for only £6, I can get those freaking cats. Mm-hmm. Oh, I gotta get that. Oh, get some more of that instead of dice. Oh, I got some instead of dice, and there's also like extra $25, and this whisper's like, you've already spent $300. What are you doing?
Yep.
And that was a problem. But then it was just like, oh, then you can have this kind of paint technique when they give it a kind of a quick painting wash. Yeah. Right? It gives it a much more of it give it a look. Mm-hmm. Something you can work with rather than just gray miniatures. Like, that's only £60. What am I doing? Mm-hmm. Delete. So like, no, because that just it creeps on you. It's like, I'm spending another $120 on top of this thing I've already spent $300 on. I don't even know if the game is good.
Exactly.
And that's the thing with Who Goes There. I got the Total Infection edition for Who Goes There. Well, I keep on calling it Total Infection. It's just Infection. Yeah. Which is the big white box with all the expansions. And I looked at it, I was like, what did I get? I got the miniatures. I got the 2 extra characters. Did I really need that? Did I really need that? But I got swept up in that.
Yeah. And you know, one of the best examples.
Although the who goes there, the miniature pack does give you the dog, and then you insert the Clark into the dog receptacle.
Yeah.
Which is dirty. I like saying that way.
Yeah, the dog receptacle. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is neat. It's a neat thing. It's a neat approach they did.
But I mean, it's interesting because there are certain games companies that will capitalize on it, and the best one that I've seen so far that capitalized on the fear of missing out was Mechs vs. Minion, limited run, only 30,000 copies. They had to do 2 runs because they couldn't fill the need with 1.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Like for me, what ends up happening is I can't give my parents or the wife a list of board games for things like
I can't buy them food or shelter because I spent. Sorry, I can't give them a list. Yeah,
can't give them a list for like Christmas or birthdays because if by the time they get around to buying it, the stores will have sold out, or they're no longer in print, or they only did a limited print run.
So what you do is I do what I did. Black Friday sales hit, the online sales, right? And I just said, hey folks, what we're going to do, we're going to buy all the games we want on Black Friday. We're going to wrap them. You just tell us how much you're contributing to the game fund. We'll put your name on that game. And everybody went for it, except my sister's just like, yeah, but I'm going to buy a couple things you're not going to know. So my mother contributed, all our friends. So we had good $300, $400 contributed to the board game fund.
That's not a bad
And we had a whole bunch of board games. And what's even better...
That's not a bad idea.
The best part of the whole thing, though, it was that our memory was so bad, by the time it rolled around to Christmas, we had forgotten what we got. Specifically, Nicole had forgotten. So when she was opening the game, she's like, oh, I love this. I'm like, you are the one who selected the game.
I like it.
But yeah, it's true. Yeah, memory's so bad, we actually forgot. Because unfortunately, when you bought, because we got 40 games. Like literally, because we bought from the Black Friday and then we bought from the Boxing Day sale the next day. And so we had games coming in. And like I said, it also had this wonderful day on Christmas Day. We got to crack open all the games and unbox them. And it was a great little afternoon. We loved it. It was one of the best days of the year. But we just literally, instead of making a wish list, they're like, look, if we get the games... Because if we say, oh, we want this game, this game, this game, this game, you're going to go over to the local store, you're going to spend 30, 40% more. If we get the games ourselves, we will get it cheaper. If we get it on Black Friday or Black Friday, we will get it even cheaper than that. We can get more value for the money.
Yeah.
Only 2 people are just like, no, we want to get you a game that you don't know you're getting. I was like, okay, here's a list of games we're not going to be buying on this list. But her parents, my mother, her sister, my sister, all of them contributed to that fund.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
So there you go. I'm giving you advice. So yeah, so going back to what we're saying, fear of missing out is an absolute addiction. I got addicted to it. It's a reason why I had problems quitting my job last week because I didn't have the finances I wanted. And the reason why I did is I spent way too much money on these games. And now as a result, I'm really apprehensive in so many Kickstarter games, even games that have very low production values, like how much you get, are still hitting these $100 price points. And I'm I know for a fact that the retail version of this game isn't coming close to this, but you're trying to sell more because you're throwing in all those exclusives. So I look at your campaign and go, okay, is that worth it? No, it's not. I don't need expansions. I'm going to wait. Yeah. It's only a campaign where I go, this is a good price for a game. Like there have been games that are just like, this campaign, the Kickstarter goal is $20. I'm like, I'm actually more interested in buying a game that's under $60. I say $80 Canadian, right? If it's under $60, $70 Canadian, doesn't matter how good the game is, I'm going to give you a bit more of a look. But the moment you hit that $100 Canadian mark, you automatically have one knock against you. Yeah. Just because this apartment is just like, is it going to be worth it? Yeah. Because even Gloomhaven for me didn't cost me more than $120. Yep. Right? And I know some people.
Did for me.
Yeah, but I know some people who spent $200 on Gloomhaven.
Yeah, I backed it on Kickstarter, so I don't know how much I ended up paying, probably $170 or something.
Yeah, and the same thing. And there's certain games that I've gotten, I've backed on Kickstarter. It was just like, a good example, I mean, Who Goes There you can buy now for $85 off of online and Canadian. And I know my whole kit was probably $170 for that. Yeah. All in. I was just like, wow. Boy, that was a lot of money.
Yep. It was, and that one, we're gonna get to that one later, but
but Nemesis, I think it's just I actually went for the miniatures. Hellboy, but I think when you burst onto the role-playing scene, I think there's that two moments. There's that moment where you get addicted to buying board games in general.
Yep.
That lasts not very long because you realize how expensive they can be depending on where you're shopping. Then when you find the cheap retailers online, you go another crazy
yes.
again. And you start buying a lot of stuff there because they're so cheap.
Well,
and then you have that phase. And then you have the Kickstarter fees when you get addicted to Kickstarter.
I did both at the same time.
Once you go through those three steps, you can step back and be an adult gamer where you look back and go, no, let's play a game we've got.
Yep. And that's the thing. I hit the Kickstarter and the cheap retails at the same time. So
I hit the cheap retail way before the Kickstarter one.
So this section right here of my collection is about what my collection was 4 years ago. That's 4 years only.
Well, you see my collection.
Yeah.
Right? That's one.
Yeah. Well,
I said
pretty much
30 games,
same, yeah.
30 games in Christmas, 30 games in one season.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty much about the same.
Yeah. Well, I went on a book tour in the through Vancouver, right? And we were there for a medical trip for Nicole, and I was on a book tour, and every place we went to sold board games.
Yeah.
I did not make any money on that trip. We don't regret the trip, but literally every single dollar that was spent on board games. But the trip was free. The trip was free. I didn't come back with any money. I just came back with board games. I might as well just traded.
Well, you know, it's funny now when we go on vacation stuff. Even like when I brought the wife along for a work trip, I had her saying, "Oh, I was just gonna look to see if there's any board game stores in town." I'm just like,
still do that.
I'm just like, And then she tells me, "Oh, they don't take credit card." I'm like, "Yes."
No, we will very often window shop. We will window shop a lot. There are a few exceptions. We went on a camping trip in Kelowna. We bought a couple games with us, but then we saw Century Eastern Wonders, and I was like, "Oh, okay, let's go get that and just play it at the campsite." Stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was pretty minor. We didn't spend more than maybe $50-$60, which is still $60. That's still a week's of food.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's that's the thing. So she didn't get dragged into that. I did. The last big purchase I did was the one where I have an excuse to do that because it was the one where I slipped in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah, and my last board game purchase. See, and one thing I've shifted from a lot now is I'm not buying straight up new games. I'm buying expansions for games. So
I'm actually more interested personally in new games and expansions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I found it's the only way to kind of curb it though, because there's not as many expansions coming out for games I've had, so it's just kind of that's bad.
But for me, like, it was expansion for a game, and I'm like, there's tons of expansions for games that I own and I won't buy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I bought Amber Mines because it promised cooperative play with Near and Far, which I think it needs. I bought Grimslinger's Northern Territory because it was like, oh yeah, we've actually fixed the rules. Like, oh yeah, you could have just updated the rules, but okay, I'll give you $20, which is like how much the game costs, like $24, so it's not a bad thing. But that's about it. I can't think of any other expansions. Cole's the completionist. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's why she's like, oh, they have number 7 expansion for Carcassonne. I'm like, honey, you can tile the floor in Carcassonne.
Yeah. So, can you get addicted? I think so. But
not to games, but to the environment around them.
Correct. Yes. And I'll agree with that 100%.
Okay, so not really a debate per se, as we both agree. So, by the way, if you have any topics you want to discuss, please put in the comments below. Mm-hmm. Like and subscribe if you want. This has been
Dave Townsend.
And I have been Chris from Deus Ex Machina, and we will catch you guys later.